Assignment class will be working on some GIF animation in Photoshop Creative Cloud. In this assignment, we'll be creating GIF animations to explore the idea of storytelling, time, and motion. View the demonstration in class and the tutorial videos as needed. When ready, create your own simple GIF animation starting from the dragon, robot, rocket, or custom templates below. Add your creativity while you experiment with frame animation, layers, movement, and tweening. When you finish, export the file at 1200 by 1200 pixels or smaller, as this file is small enough to text. Upload the GIF file and turn in the assignment when you're finished. The learning target is to explore motion, balance, tweening, frame animation, and create a GIF using Photoshop. There's a couple tutorial videos if you want to watch someone else teach. There's a one-eyed purple people eater. There's some text animations here. The rubric on how you're going to get graded is posted as well. You're going to get up to 3 points for the sequence or the order of the frames. They should make sense to tell the story. The GIF should be set to play forever. We can play it once, twice, 3 times, or forever are the common selections there. Tweening is how smoothly you go from one keyframe to the next. Creativity is in how you arrange the story and the visual elements that you add. We're going to select a background for some of these, so that should be interesting. Or if you do the dragon, it'll be the text that you select. And then finally, we want to send the file out as the right file format. It should be a GIF file format size to play easily with quick processing. So all those things come together to earn you 18 points. Let's take a look at a couple student works before we get started with the demonstration. Here's a custom animation. A student basically was used to drawing flipbooks, so they used the brush tool in Photoshop and they drew frame by frame and creating a new layer just like they would have when making Disney animation. This is a very time-intensive process, but the results can be beautiful. Here's another student example. This was the robot template. It was downloaded. The robot has different parts that you can kind of wiggle around, and then you can select your own background to make the dance floor. Here's another example of the robot. Some people like to make the robot dance. Sometimes they blow the robot up and then bring it back together at different places on the dance floor. To begin, we need to know how to download our templates. So we're going to jump into here. I'm going to grab this rocket GIF. I'm going to click on the file. It's going to preview. And if I click on these 3 dots over here, I can open this in a new window. Once I open it in a new window, I'm going to be able to download this thing. It'll show up down here, and I can click on the little arrow that says open, and it'll take you right to Photoshop. So there it is. I'm going to show you the ending first, because sometimes it's nice to see the end twice. So here's the finished product. Notice I've got this timeline down here, and the timeline has these little controls. I can push play, and now my animation plays through 1 frame at a time. See the little flame flickering, the planets going by, the Earth, the Moon, Mars, Jupiter. And then it repeats, goes back to frame number 1. Notice how the frames are numbered. Okay. Now I can push stop at any time, and I can click on any frame that I want to. Okay, so that's an important part of the process. If I needed to, I could change the order. I can take this frame, number 11, and I can move it somewhere else. I don't want to do that, but that's something that you can do. Here you'll notice I can play it forever. I've got once. Now when I push play, it's only going to play once, and it'll stop. If I click on this again, I can say 3 times. Now when I play, we'll go by the Earth once. The second time. A third time. And it'll stop when it gets to the end of this sequence. So to make that work, I'm going to click on the little triangle here, and I'm going to change that to forever. Notice also right here I can switch from frame animation to video timeline. So this looks a little bit more like video editing here. I'll open this window up so you can see a little bit more. Or if I click on this 3 squares, it takes me back to frames. So now I'm in my frame, so don't be too upset if you wind up in the wrong spot. Other things, if I have a frame that I don't like, I can drag it to the trash. I can duplicate a frame by pushing the plus sign, and then this is my tween button. When I'm done with my video animation, sometimes I like to play it one more time to make sure it looks good. Looks like it's nice. I can push the space bar to stop the play. I'm going to go up here to the File menu. Click on the File. I'm going to click on Export. And underneath Export, I can do all sorts of different things. The dialog box that I want to bring up is Save for Web Legacy. So I'm going to click on Save for Web. And that's the first step towards exporting the file and turning this thing in. Once this dialog box opens, I'm going to jump over here and make sure the pixel size, the dimensions are 1200 by 1200, nothing bigger. It's a good size. In the next dialog box here, I'm going to make sure I give it a name. I'm going to call it my name.gif or Mike.gif. And I'm going to create a folder. And I'll call this Design Animation Files. And I'll save that there so it's easy to find when I turn it in. Once we're all exported, I want to be sure to save my file. So I'm going to click on File, Save As. I'm going to save it on my computer. I like to make a new folder. Click on the New Folder button. And then you'll see I've already done that. I've made a GIF folder, so I'm going to keep all my files. Up here, I'm going to call this my name. This is a demo, so I'll add that. And this is the rocket GIF. And so my name, rocket.psd, that's Photoshop documents. And then click on Save. So for some reason, I need to go back and edit. All of my work is there. So important to note that Photoshop doesn't automatically save for you like some of the other cloud computing does. So you definitely want to save from time to time at the end of the hour before you close the program. We're ready to get started here. So here's my rocket. And we want to make sure, I'm going to look up top, I've got File up here, I've got Window. I want to make sure that my Layers box is checked. And I want to make sure that my Timeline is checked. I need those two windows, they're very important. So first thing we have here is the layers. If we click on the layers, you'll see that I've got Jupiter is named, I've got Mars is named, I've got the Moon, I've got the Earth right here. I've got my different flames going on in my rocket. Got the rocket there. So this is kind of important that everything's in order. Notice if I want to change the order, you see how the rocket is in front of the Earth? If I take the Earth and drag it to the top, whatever's on top in the layers palette is going to be in front. So now if I animate this, the rocket is behind the Earth and I can't see it. So I'm going to make sure that I bring the Earth down towards the bottom. So now the rocket shows up. So you can change the order of these things. Also notice if I click on the eyeball, we can make visible or make invisible different layers. So that's a really important part of this process. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push the V key. I've got this toolbar over here. In animation, we typically call these things assets. So my moon is an asset. When I push the V key, it allows me to move things kind of individually. So I'm going to move the moon, I'm going to move Jupiter, I'm going to move the Earth. I'm going to move these things kind of up towards the top, just so I can barely see them. So I'm going to leave the moon, Earth about right there. I'll bring the moon up, and I'll leave the moon about right here. I'm going to go ahead and bring the Jupiter up. Maybe I'll put Jupiter in the middle. And then I'll bring Mars up. Now I don't want to move the rocket. Don't want to move the rocket at all, or the flame. I'm going to leave the rocket and the flame in position. So I was able to do that because I had the move tool selected. I'm going to take the Jupiter, Mars, Moon. I'm just going to leave the Earth. The Earth is the only thing I'm going to be able to see. The next thing we want to do is we want to get a nice background in here. So I'm going to show you how we go and get assets for our animations. So I'm going to jump into Google Images. I'm going to type in something fun like galaxy photography or space photography or Hubble telescope nebulas or something. I'm going to try to click on these things. It'll give me a little preview over here. And I'm looking for something impressive, a nice big galaxy kind of going through the sky. Here's a good one. This one's pretty nice. One of the things I can do is if I have it loaded, a couple options. I can control click and I can copy image, or I can shift command 4 and I can do a screenshot of the image. Okay, those are two options. I like to use the control click, so I'm going to control click copy image. And I'm going to jump over to Photoshop, go back into Photoshop here. I'm going to push command V. That's going to paste my little galaxy in there. It's important to manage your layers. It's called layer management. So we're going to call this galaxy, so I know what I'm talking about. If I'm clicking on these layers, I can put the galaxy all the way to the back. I want it to be behind everything. This is sort of like the set, the stage, the backdrop for the whole story that we're telling. I'm going to push command T, which brings up some handles. And with these handles, I can actually bring the scale of the photo up quite a bit. I'm going to fill the whole page with this nice galaxy. Once I've got it there, I can kind of move it around. Once I've got it where I want, I like this little band right through the middle. I think that looks impressive. I'm going to click on the checkbox, and that's going to keep that there. So I want to click on Window, make sure my timeline is checked. Turn on my tools a little bit here too. And then on the timeline, it's got a really important step here. See how it says create frame animation? Sometimes the last person using your computer might have been on video timeline. We don't want the video timeline button, so we click on the little arrow and we wake up frame animation. Make sure it says frame. Now this is a button that we can click. And when I click on that button, you'll see that I've made my first keyframe inside my story. Now I've got it set for forever. I'm going to click on this little triangle, this little drop down seconds. I'm going to change this to 0.2 is really nice. 0.1 is a little bit faster if you want to work a little bit harder. 0.2 is pretty good for beginning animation. So it's going to take 5 frames is going to equal 1 second. If I change it to 0.1, then 10 frames are going to equal a second. So if I want to do like a 5-second story, then I'm going to have to do 50 frames, or I have to do 25 frames to tell a 5-second story. So I've got this set up, and I'm going to make my first keyframe. I'm going to click on this duplicate button right here. Duplicates the frame. And what I want to do is I want it to seem like we've flown by the Earth. So I'm going to push the V key, and I'm going to bring the Earth. Maybe I'll go at a diagonal. So the Earth is up above, now it's down below. That's kind of fun. I can push this tween button, and that's gonna, it's set to tween with the previous frame, so it's gonna draw all the pictures of the Earth in between. I can draw one. I'm gonna have it go by the Earth a little bit slower. Maybe I'll do 6 frames in between my keyframes. I can change any number that I want. I'm gonna click OK. So notice how I had 2 frames and now I have 8 because it drew 6 frames in between. So let's push play and we'll see how we zoom by the Earth there, kind of over and over again, which is pretty nice. Now I'm going to duplicate this next frame. I'm going to turn off the Earth so it seems like we've gone past it. And I'm going to click the eyeball to view the moon layer. See how the moon is up here? I'm going to duplicate again. So number 9 is my keyframe for this one. I'm going to click on the duplicate button and then make sure my V key is active. So now I'm going to have the moon go by. Maybe I'll have the moon go by opposite. We'll go this way. Now I want the moon's a little bit smaller and we're getting further away from the Earth. Maybe my rocket is accelerating. So when I use the tween button, I'm going to, instead of doing 6 frames, I'm going to do 4. And so that's going to make the moon seem like it goes by quite a bit faster. So if I push play, we go by the Earth, and we go by the moon. Okay, so on the next one, I'm done with the moon, so I'm going to turn that off so it goes away. And let's see, Mars. I think that'll be next. So I'm going to click on Mars. So Mars is going to come in here right down the middle. Maybe I'll move that over here so I can see it a little bit more. And I'm going to duplicate again. So I'm going to make a new keyframe. So 16 and 17 are my keyframes. I'm going to have Mars go whizzing by. So I'll put Mars down there. And then I'll keyframe that. I'll tween it. So let's stay 5. We'll go 5 again. We won't go so fast past Mars. So let's push play and see how that looks. Go by the Earth, go by the Moon, go by Mars, and then we're back to Earth. So I'm going to push stop. When you push stop, you kind of want to make sure you're at your last frame. Number 22 is my last frame. I'm going to wake up Jupiter, and I'll hide Mars. Click the duplicate button to make my next keyframe, 22 and 23. The action is Jupiter's up here. Maybe we want to make Jupiter curve around a little bit, just for maybe the rocket's going crazy. So I'm going to go over to the side. I'll push tween, and I'll have 3 frames. Okay. And then I'll duplicate again. I'll have Jupiter kind of zigzag over here. Add 3 more frames. And then finally I'll duplicate it, and I'll have Jupiter go off the stage. Between that, maybe that'll be 2. And then we'll hide Jupiter. I'll push play again. So go by the Earth, go by the Moon, there goes Mars. And Jupiter kind of zigzags. All right, so it's pretty good. I'm happy with my storytelling. So I've got a total of 33 frames. I'm going to work on some creativity next. So on the first one here, I'm going to work on my flames now. I want the flames of the rocket to flicker. You see how I've got these different parts of the flame? I can turn some off, and I'll go to frame 2, and I'll turn them back on. I'll go to frame 3, and I'll change it up. Turn some on, turn some off. This takes a little while. You can kind of do it randomly, or you can make a little pattern if you want to. Number 19. All right, so let's push play and see how it goes. So you see how we've added the little flicker of flame to our project. That's pretty good. So once we think we're ready, I'm going to push stop. And I would go up here and I would click on File, Export, Save for Web Legacy. So then this dialog box pops up, Save for Web. And again, I want to make sure my maximum pixel size is 1200 pixels, as that's a file that's small enough to text or email. It's going to load really well. It's not going to take up a lot of data. I don't really need to worry about much of the rest here. I'm going to click on Save. Then this Saved Optimized window pops up. Again, this is a chance for me to name the file. This is my second rocket of the day, so I'll call that rocket number 2. Make sure the GIF format is selected. And I'm going to look for my animation files, make sure it's in the right spot. And I'll click on Save. When we go back to Google, in your view right here, there'll be Add or Create button, and you'll look for the file on your desktop and you'll upload that for grading.